On your phlebotomy certification exam, you will absolutely be tested on fasting requirements for common laboratory tests. Mastering these rules is critical for ensuring patient safety and accurate results. Let's start with the most common fasting tests: the glucose test, the lipid panel, and the fasting insulin. For these, the standard fasting window is 8 to 12 hours. This means the patient should have nothing to eat or drink except for plain water for that duration. The exam will test this with scenario-based questions. For instance, a patient arrives for a lipid panel at 10 a.m. and states they ate breakfast at 6 a.m. Your correct action is to recognize this is only a 4-hour fast, which is insufficient. Eating before a lipid panel can falsely elevate triglyceride levels, skewing the results. Similarly, a recent meal will spike blood sugar, making a fasting glucose test inaccurate for diagnosing conditions like diabetes. The glucose tolerance test, or GTT, also requires a strict 8 to 12-hour fast before the initial baseline blood draw. After this first sample, the patient consumes a specific glucose drink, and then blood is drawn at timed intervals. A common exam trap is to confuse the GTT protocol with a random glucose test, which does not require fasting. Remember, the entire purpose of the GTT is to see how the body processes a sugar load from a true baseline, which can only be established in a fasting state. Iron studies present a unique challenge that the exam loves to test. These tests require a morning draw, typically after an overnight fast. This is due to something called diurnal variation, where iron levels naturally fluctuate throughout the day, generally being highest in the morning. Drawing the sample in a fasted morning state provides a standardized baseline for the most accurate assessment. An exam question might ask you to prioritize patients, and a patient scheduled for iron studies should be drawn early. Now, a key point of confusion is which tests don't require fasting. Most general chemistry panels and tests, like a complete blood count or CBC, do not require the patient to fast. However, be careful with panels like the basic or comprehensive metabolic panel. Because these panels often include a glucose test, fasting is typically required. Always check the specific components of a panel. The most important action when a patient is non-compliant is documentation. If a patient required to fast for 10 hours tells you they ate a piece of toast 6 hours ago, you must note this on the requisition. The test may be canceled and rescheduled, or the physician may decide to proceed, but your documentation is non-negotiable. A frequently tested exception to the nothing by mouth rule is water. Patients are, and should be, encouraged to drink plain water during their fast. Staying hydrated makes veins easier to locate and access, leading to a smoother venipuncture. Dehydration can cause hemoconcentration, potentially altering test results. The exam will try to trick you by asking if a patient who drank black coffee or juice is still considered fasting. The answer is no. Only plain water is permitted. To remember the core fasting tests, use this simple phrase: good lipids in the morning. Good stands for glucose and GTT. Lipids is for the lipid panel, in is for insulin, and the morning will remind you that iron studies need that specific timing. This helps group the most common tests that require careful patient preparation. For free practice questions, AI-powered explanations, and more exam prep tools, visit openexamprep.com. That's openexamprep, all one word, .com.